of the new parak. Our shir this morning is dedicated by Baruch Fischel and Sonia Kozlovsky and family in honor of Baruch Fischel's 65th Hebrew birthday, not to be confused with the previous sponsorship, which was the English birthday, Baruch Hashem, and in honor of Yona Ehrenfeld and Yuna Neuberger for their friendship and assistance. Beautiful Baruch Fischel, Mazel Tov, and that Ameya Ve'esem Shanim Tovos. Beautiful. Let's begin. It's a new parak today. I know that I do owe you. I have not forgotten the halachas that I have to give you regarding androgynous and tumtum. What I'd like to try to do is just to make sure, let's get through the daf today first, and then Amir Hashem will go back and focus on those halachas. Says the Mishnah. Both say we're transitioning now from the movement of animals to the movement of people. Right? So we'll say this is a topic many people are very proficient in detecting the movement in other people, right? So here we're going to go ahead and codify this in halacha. Specifically, we're focusing now on kohanim. That's how this discussion starts. So movement elu. So we'll say these movement that we've spoken about. Rashi says over here, ha'amurin bebechar. All of the mumin that we've been discussing, the gabe bechar behema, right? Both by, remember we've spoken about, by bechar behema. So mumin elu ben kvuin ben ovrim poslin ba'adam. Whether these types of mumin are established means they're not going to heal, or ovrin they will heal. Pasal a kohen, right? So if a kohen were to go ahead and have any of the mumin that we discussed in any of the previous sugyas, halacha l'maisa, that would preclude him from doing the avoda. Now, both and I remember again, interestingly enough, as opposed to a bechar, right, a bechar behema. So remember, the halacha is if it's a mum kavua, you could check it. If it's a mum over, what do? Mum over, you wait till it heals. There's nothing to do. A kohen, of course, if a kohen has a mum kavua, then of course he's forever precluded from doing the avoda. If he has a mum over, then what? He is not permitted to go ahead and do the avoda when he has the mum, but of course once the mum heals, he is permitted to go ahead and perform the avoda again. So all of these movements that we've discussed, postlin, preclude a kohen from doing the avoda, whether they are ovrim or whether they are kavuim. The yesralein, and I both say, but a kohen a kohen has additional movement above and beyond that which an animal has, which will preclude it from doing the avoda. And what are they? Hakilon, v'halifton, v'hamekabin. So we'll define all of these in the Gemara. V'sherosho shakut usikifas, and someone whose head is shakut or sikifas. Again, we're going to define all of these terms. Ubali chataros. What about hunchbacks? So Rabbi Huda machshir. Rabbi Huda says a kohen hunchback is permitted, or a hunchback kohen is permitted to go ahead and do the avoda. V'chachamim poslin. The Chachamim say that a hunchback is possible to do the avoda. Gemara says, Mishnah says, hakereach. So we'll say, so ultimately again, kereach is a bald person, right? A bald person, puzzle, is very interesting, right? I was really ma'ayin into this because I was bothered. I was bothered by this a little bit. But again, we're going to see. We're going to qualify it. So right, hakirech. So the bald person is the bald kohen. So all kohen will say bald kohen is possible for the avoda. Eizu kirech. So both say who is considered to be a bald person. Kol she'in lo shita shel seyar mukefes me'ozen la'ozen. If you don't have a ring of hair going from ear to ear. I'll turn around later. You can see, right? And so I say if you have a ring of hair going from ear to ear, then that's not bald. Then ultimately, again, that's not the moment. One would be permitted to go ahead and do the avoda like that. Im yeshlo harei zakasher. So we'll say again, and we're going to further define this in the Gemara. But essentially, what the Gemara is saying over here is, as long as you have a ring of hair in the back that goes from ear to ear, then halacha l'maisa, that is not bald, and such a kohen will be permitted to do the avoda. Good. So we'll say, so that's the Mishnah. Now we have a lot to do in the Gemara. Amai. So the Gemara says, now, Amai Rashi says, is postlin ba'adam. The Mishnah made a statement that whatever mum passes by a bechar will also passel a kohen to do the avoda. To which the Gemara says, why is that? Or really, what the Gemara is really asking is, how do you know that? I'll give you examples of situations where that's not true. V'ha'ika yabeles. For example, there's the case of a wart. So we'll say, so we spoke about again by a behema. It was a whole machlok, so what kind of wart? But let's say, for argument's sake, the calcified wart, which everyone seems to say is a mum by a bechar. Yet we know again that's not mentioned ultimately by what? That's not mentioned by a kohen. To look siv baraisa, but the Gemara says ba'adam v'su dak tavlul. Both say there are other mumin like dak and tavlul. Now dak and tavlul, again, we're going to get into all of these, but dak and tavlul have to do with blemishes in the eye, specifically where there's something in the white of the eye, the black of the eye, for sure in the black. Not everybody. Remember, again, we saw this machlokes whether or not a mum in the white of the eye is an invalidating mum. The point is, these are eye issues, dak and tavlul, that are written by people, but not written by behema. So we'll say what the Gemara is asking is like this: the Mishnah makes it sound like whatever applies to a behema applies to an adam, and all the Gemara is saying is, but when you look at the psukim, that doesn't seem to be true. There are things that apply to an adam which don't apply to a behema. There are things which apply to a behema which don't apply to an adam. Therefore, how do I understand the Mishnah? To which the Gemara says, you're right. Meilif yalfi mehadadi. The truth is, with this Gzeira Shava, we learn out the mumin of Adam and Behema from one another. This Sanya, we learned in a Braisa, Adam lo ne'emar bo yabeles, for example. By an Adam, it doesn't make any mention of a wart. Behema lo ne'emar dak tavlul. And by Behema, makes no mention of any of these I mumin. Minayin litin es ha'amor shel zeh bazeh, ve'es ha'amor shel zeh bazeh. You say, how do I know to apply the mumin of a behema to an adam, and the mumin of an adam to a behema? From where do I know that? Talmud lomar, garav, yalefes, l'gzeira shava. Therefore, we'll say the Torah says, make a gzeira shava between adam and behema. It says garav. Remember again, garav is a type of garav and yalefes are both types of boils, right? So ultimately, again, the Gemara says garav by Adam, garav by behema, yalefes by Adam, yalefes by behema, and therefore, again, I will say that creates a gzeira shav. It creates a halachic bridge between the mumin of Adam and the mumin of behema to tell me that ultimately the mumin of behema apply by Adam, the mumin of Adam apply by behema. The gzeira shava. Ultimately, this creates the gzeira shava, and hence the Mishnah statement of mumin elu, all of the mumin that we mentioned by the Bechor also would go ahead and invalidate the Kohen based on the Gzeira Sheva of garav, yalefes. So the Gemara says mufni. Now it has to be, I say, remember we've seen this many times, mufni means it is open. Now we'll say, now what does that mean? In order to make a Gzeira Shava is a halachic bridge between two different subjects. You make the halachic bridge either by finding the same word or by finding the same statement, the same phrase. In order to make a Gzeira Shava, the word or the phrase that is used to create the halachic bridge cannot be used for anything else. If it's used for any other drasha, then Allah say it's not usable for the Gzeira Shava. So I must say that Garav and Yalefes are both open. De'ilo mufni, because we'll say if they were not open, so to speak, Ikal Mifrach, I could make a pircha, I could create a pircha, I could destroy this Gzeira Shava. How? Because I could say like this, Adam mi behema lo yalef. You cannot learn out the halachos of mum by Adam from behema. Why? Shekain hi atzma kreva lagabi mizbeach. Because they both say behema is on a separate category. Why? Because behema itself is offered up on the mizbeach. Behema me Adam lo yalfa. Similarly, again, I cannot learn out. So I can't learn out of Adam from behema because they're not similar. A behema is totally offered up on the mizbeach, and Adam, of course, is not. Furthermore, again, behema me Adam lo yalfa. I can't learn out behema from Adam. Shekin nisraba b'mitzvos. Because the both said Adam is different. Why? Because an Adam has many mitzvos. So since an Adam has many mitzvos, maybe that's why the laws of Mumin are different by him than they would be by Behemoth. Therefore, again, loi, therefore you are correct, afnuye mufni. It must be that halacha l'maisa, these words of Garav and Yalefes are not used for any other drasha. Therefore, they are open to be used for the Gzeira Shava, and the Gzeira Shava allows you to apply the movement of Adam to Behema, Behema to Adam, and kind of sidestep the Pircha. So which the Gemara says, Lichtov Rachmani Yalefes v'lo ba'i Garav. So we'll say, if that's the case, let the Torah just write Yalefes and leave out Garav. V'ana Amina, and I would say as follows, Umay Yalefes delo me'isa havi muma. They both say, if the Yalefes which ultimately, again, is not mos, is not disgusting. Remember, again, yalefes is a type of boil which does not heal, but you're going to see it's not as disgusting as garav. Umay yalefes delo meisa, right? If the yalefes, which is not mos, havimuma, is a mum, garav de ma'is, lokol shekin, right? The garav, also remember again, the garav is a bit more ma'us. Why? First of all, again, it's hardened, like Cheres Rashi says, and it's also sunken into the skin, right? Meaning it makes some type of significant indentation or cut into the flesh itself. So I would have let the Torah just write Yalefes, and I don't need garav. And I would have said if Yalefes is a mum and it's not some ma'us, certainly again garav, which is ma'us, would certainly be a mum. To which the Gemara says, garav, the kasav rachmana. So I'll say ultimately, why don't you need the two garavs? To which the Gemara says lafnuye, to free it up ultimately to make the gzera shava between Adam and Behema, to apply the movement of one to the other. Also listen to this. So why don't you, if that's true, that human beings, that Adam and Behema share the same listings of Mumin, then why don't you just write one set of psukim? Whereas why do you have to list the Mumin by Adam and the Mumin by Behema? Just create one centralized list. Right? Lichtavinu rachmana kula b'chad, v'gara v'yalefes hacha v'hacha, v'leilfu chada mechada. I'm sorry, v'leilfu mechada. And we'll say, so just write one centralized list. Obviously, you can go ahead, you'd have to somehow link the two. So you could write Gara v'yalefes by Adam and Behema, but again, then I learn out everything else from the centralized list. To which the Gemara says, Ahia. So tell me, which one should I write it by? In other words, obviously I have to write the Mumin in one context or another. So you're telling me once, I should just list it once. Just list it once. Who should I list it by? Should I list it by Adam? Should I list it by Behema? So Ahia b'hailechtov, so the Gemara says, b'hailechtov rachmana, ikasav ba'adam, if the Torah would have just written the Mumin by Adam, Hava Amina called the Pasal Ba'adam Pasal B'Behema. So I'll say, if the Torah would have just written the list of Mumin by Adam, I would lead me to the following conclusion. Whatever is Pasal by Adam, Pasals by a Behema. So we'll say, what would that come to include? So Kalut, so the Gemara says, Kalut V'chutin Delesnu Ba'adam B'Behema Namilo Lifsul. We'll say, if that's the case, Kalut means what? If the hooves of the animal are rounded, Chutin means all of the blemishes in the gums, which we spoke about. So we'll say those are mumin by behema, which do not apply to an adam. So I might have thought if the mumin were just written by Adam, so I might have thought as follows: just like by Adam, kalut, rounded feet, rounded hooves, chutin, blemishes in the gum, are not mumin by Adam. Bebehema nami lo lifsalu. Therefore, both say again, they shouldn't passel by behema. But we know that's not the case. So just write all of the mumin by behema. Let behema be the centralized source from mumin, and just you've garav yalef is for the gzera shava. Havamina called the pasal behema, pasal Adam. I would have thought, therefore, what? Anything that passes by behema passes by Adam. Gibein v'charum. If that's the case, I will say, then what? Gibein and charum that do not apply by behema. Look at Rashi. Rashi says, Gibein v'charum d'lesnu bebehema. The gibein hainu sheyesh lo gevinim shekorin right ubehema leslu gevinim. V'charum, so as we're going to see, so gibein, although there's going to be machlokes for our purposes now, it means overgrown eyelashes. Right? And we'll say an animal doesn't have eyelashes. So we'll say, so ultimately again, eyebrows. So ultimately, again, we're going to see this in the next Mishnah. So I might have thought that an animal which does not have this charum rabosai means, Rashi says, a sunken nose, where the nose is sunken in between the eyes. So this only applies by an adam, doesn't apply by a behema. So I might have thought if the psulim were just written by behema, I would have thought just like behema doesn't have gibein and charum, but adam nami lo lifselu. So to an adam also wouldn't have it. So if rabosai, what the Gemara shows over here is the ability to write all of the psulim in one place sounds like a nice idea. The problem is in the execution. Where are you going to write it? Because the problem is writing it by behema poses problems. Writing it by Adam poses problems. So maybe you'll say as follows. So I'll say let's still go forward with the suggestion. Let the Torah write all of the mumin in one place, either by Adam or behema. V'hanoch telesnu beidach lichtov rachmana bebehema. V'hanad telesnu beidach lichtov rachmana ba'adam. Let's have a very simple idea. Still, write all of the mumin in one place. And obviously, the mumin which are animal specific, write by behema. The mumin which are human being specific, Adam specific, right by the Adam. In other words, I will say, it's true. What we've established is, you cannot make a comprehensive list of all mumin in one place. Why? Because as much as Adam and Behema share many mumin, halacha l'maaseh, they each have their own unique mumin as well. So that's fine. Write one centralized list in one location, and then write the specific mumin that apply by Adam to Adam, and apply by Behema to Behema, and what? V'gara v'yalefes hacha v'hacha v'lilfi me'adadi. And write Garav and Yalefes, both by Adam and Behema. That creates the Gzeira Shava, and the Gzeira Shava allows you to learn them out both from the centralized list, from the list they share, plus they each have their own unique mumin as well. So the Gemara says, Elo, Ketanat Rabbi Shmuel. Rabbi Shmuel, Kol Parsha Shene'em Rav Nishnis, Lo Nishnis Ella B'Shvil Davar Shenis Chadishba. So what Rabbi Shmuel says, you're getting hung up on something very specific. What are you getting hung up on? You're getting hung up on the fact that the Torah seemingly restates two redundant sections of Mumin, to which the Gemara says, the Torah often does this. The Torah will repeat an entire piece of information just to be mechadesh one particular nuanced point. So we'll say we have this many times throughout the Torah. Therefore, again, the Gemara says over here, the sections of mumin are repeated does not bother us. As long as every single time the section of mumin is repeated, I could find some type of chiddush, I could find some new idea, some new concept that is espoused, that's absolutely fine. Therefore, again, it doesn't bother us that the Torah says the section of mumin both by Adam and both by Behema for two reasons. Number one, because they do have separate halachas, and even though, again, they share many, overwhelmingly, the same mumin, nevertheless, the Torah often will repeat the section because it introduces even one new piece of information. Beautiful. Amirava. Lamali dikasev rachmana mumba adam mumba kadshim mumba bechar. So now we ask a different kasha. So Rabbi says, the Torah is actually very interesting. The Torah goes through the halachos of mumin by Adam, by person, by kadshim, by karbanos, and by bechar. So we'll say three times. Why do I need all three sections? Why do I need all three sections? So I will say, first of all, take a look at Rashi. Shenis chadish bar Rashi says, V'hacha ika chidish ba'adam gibein v'charim b'behema kalat v'chutin. So I will say, so ultimately, again, in the section of Adam, the chidish is gibein and charim, which we'll discuss, and the chidish by behema ultimately is kalut and chutin. So I will say, so now the Gemara says as follows. So now I have a discussion of mumin by Adam, bechar, and kadshim. Why do I need all three? Why do I need all three? So the Gemara says, I'll tell you why. Because if I had the Torah just written by Adam, I would have said Adam has mumin. Why? Because Adam has an elevated status of Kedusha, because he has mitzvahs. Adam ibachar, so it's like I could write Adam ibachar behema loasi. I could not learn out the halachos of mumin by Adam from bachar behema. Why? Shekein hu atzma kar l'gam mizbeach. Because it was like bachar behema has the capacity to be offered up on the mizbeach. So because of that, maybe it has an elevated state of kedusha. That's what has the halachos of mumin. But Adam is not like that. Kadshim ibachar loasi. Similarly, again, I can't learn out kadshim from bachar behema. Why? Shekein kedusha mirechem. Because it was like bachar is kadosh mirechem, right? Bechar is kadosh from birth. Kadshim, right? So in other words, essentially, Bechar is endowed sanctity. Kadshim ultimately is conveyed or conferred sanctity. Adam Kadshim lo asi. I can't learn Adam from Kadshim. Why? Shekein hein atzman karav, craven. Because Kadshim are offered up on the Mizbeach, Adam is not. Bechar mi Kadshim lo asi. I can't learn Bechar from Kadshim. Why? Shekein Kedushasa meruba. Because ultimately, again, Kadshim has a heightened level of Kedusha above Bechar. Therefore, we'll say you see that you cannot learn out any one of these things from the other. So that's fine. So chadam ichada lo asya, teisi chadam itarti. So I have a different suggestion. I can't learn out any one of these from one of the others, but what? So just state two of the three, and learn out the third from the other two. To which the Gemara says, okay. So the Gemara says, Tesi chadim mitarti. So the Gemara says, Mehai Tesi. So we'll say, so which one should we learn out from? Right? Which one should we leave off? Which two should we state? Lo lichtav rachana b'bechar v'tesi mehanach. So don't write bechar and learn out the halachos of bechar behema from what? From Adam and Kachim. That won't work. Why? Ma'alahanach shekein kidushasam meruba. So we'll say you can't do that. Why? Because both Adam and Kachim have a heightened level of kedusha more than bechar. V'noagin bipshutin. Furthermore, again, they apply to everything. Right? They apply to all kinds of people, all kinds of animals, as opposed to bechar, which only applies to a bechar. Lo lichtov bekachim v'tesim mehanach. So leave off kachim and just write bechar behema and adam. Ma'alahanach shekein kidushasan me'elehen. Can't do that. Why? Because ultimately, again, this kedusha, the kedusha by kohanim and the kedusha by bechar is an automatic kedusha. Lo lichtov ba'adav v'tesim mehanach. Don't write it by adam and ultimately learn out from kachim and bechar. Ma'alahanach shekein hein atzman kreven l'gabe mizbeach. You can't do that. Why? Because kachim and bechar share common denominator. They're both offered up on the mizbeach, which does not apply to adam. Therefore, tzrichi. Therefore, we'll say we see, interestingly enough, that we do in fact need to have the Torah needs to have the discussion about mumin 3 distinct times: by Adam, by Bechar Behema, and ultimately again by Kachim. Why? Because they cannot be learned out one from the other. Beautiful. Yes, Sir Alein Adam. So we'll say, remember again, the Mishnah said that all of the halachos of Mumin by Adam are learned out from Behema, Gzeir Shava. But in addition to that, Adam has an additional category of Mumin. Now we're going to go through them. So the Gemara says, Minahani Mili, from where do we know this? And I will say now, this is very interesting. As we're going to see now, the mumin that are mentioned in the Mishnah are not recorded in the Torah. So how do I know that these mumin mentioned in the Mishnah are problematic? Well, it's actually very dramatic. Amar Rabbi Yochanan, the Amar Kra, we have actually, well, it's a bit anticlimactic because we saw it yesterday. But the Amar Kra, hopefully you don't remember. Amar Rabbi Yochanan, the Amar Kra, Kol ish asher bo mum mizera Aaron. Well, say, so the pasuk says, any person who will have a mum who is of the offspring of Aaron. What do we learn from that pasuk? I will say, Ish sheshava bizarro shel Aaron. So we'll say, look at the last rash before you turn the page. Look at the last rash in the daf. Ish hashava bizarro shel Aaron. Who debay muma? Ha'in shava bizarro shel Aaron below muma nami mifsal. We'll say, listen to this. So there's a concept by the kahuna that you must resemble Aaron. What does it mean that you have to resemble Aaron? That your physical features have to be in order. So we'll say what we're now introducing is something dramatically amazing. So we're going to see, actually, there are going to be 3 categories of mumin. So the first category of mumin is what? Those mumin explicitly mentioned in the Torah. The second category of mumin are those mumin which, if you have them, you do not look like Aaron HaKohen, which also means that you don't look like a regular person, right? There's some type of abnormality. Abnormality is maybe a very strong word, but you don't look. It's hard to say. You don't look like a regular person. You'll see when we define it. We'll see you look like a regular person. And I will say we're going to see that there's a major distinction between these different categories of mumin. So remember, the mumin da'araisa are the mumin that are mentioned in the Torah. Then again, there's this whole section called Ish Asher Bo Mumi Zera Aaron. In order to be a functioning, you have to be Ish Sheshava Bezaroshan. You have to look like a regular offspring of Aaron. So both say, to which the Gemara says, Amud Beis. Ma'ika ben muma l'shenu shava bezaroshan. So what the Gemara says, okay, so I understand now there's 2 categories. I could be a Baal, if I'm a Kohen, I could be a Baal mum, or I could be like someone who doesn't look like Aaron. So both say, so what's the distinction between these 2 categories? Look at Rashi. Ma'ika ben Kohen hanifsal b'mum gomer, l'Kohen hanifsal b'mum she'eno shava bezaro sha'aron, dahainu kilon v'lifton kol hanach. So say, what is the distinction exactly, just halachically, between a Kohen, say a Kohen is missing an arm. That is a biblical mum. So what's the difference between a Kohen missing an arm, and let's say a Kohen who has one of the mumin mentioned in the Mishnah, which we'll see. What's the difference between them? Gemara says something very profound. So Gemara says, Mishum achuli avoda. We'll say, listen to this. What if the Kohen with the mum does the avoda? He's not allowed to do the avoda, but he does it. Watch this. This is amazing. Muma machil avoda, dichsiv mum ba v'lo yichalal. So let's listen to this. If you have an actual biblical mum and you do the avoda is invalid. right? The avodah is invalid. You weren't allowed to do it. The avodah is invalid because the pasuk says mumbo. If he has a mum, v'lo yichalel, he should not profane the avodah. So therefore, again, if you have a real bona fide biblical mum, you do the avodah is chul and it's not good. Shenoshav b'zaro shalaron. If you have one of these other, if you have a mum in this other category, a mum that says you don't look like the offspring of Aaron, you are not allowed to do the avodah. But what? Lo machil avodah. If you did it, then what? Ex post facto, the avodah is good. Avodah is really amazing. So therefore, again, the halacha is the same, which is whether you possess a biblical mum or what we call a mizaro shel Aaron mum. You don't look the part of an offspring of Aaron, which I will say has nothing to do with Kohanim. It really means we're going to see you don't look like a typical person. And the halacha l'maaseh, both these people should not do the avodah. If you have a biblical mum, the avodah is pasul. If you are what we call, you have a zaro shel Aaron mum, ultimately, again, you shouldn't do the avodah, but if you did it, the avodah works. So watch this. So we'll say, see now, we haven't even defined what these women are yet, but the Gemara now introduces third category. Ma'ika bein she'ino shava bezaro shel Aaron umishum maras ayin. Wow, we'll say this is incredible. There's now a third category. Third category of mum in Abosai is the type of mum where it's not a biblical mum, and the truth is, it's not even a zaro shel Aaron mum. What is it? You just don't look right. Right? You just don't look right. I will say, as we're going to what really Maras Ayin means is, I will say, it's an interesting discussion. We're going to get into all of this. The biblical movement. Torah speaks about people who are handicapped or crippled. And so, interesting enough, the Sefer HaChinuch discusses this. Like, why would you preclude a handicapped Kohen from doing the avodah? Like, it's strange. We don't seem to find this anywhere else. So, Sefer HaChinuch says something amazing. He says one simple reason. Because when people come to the Beis HaMikdash, we want them focusing on the avodah. The way in the Sefer HaChinuch says, when you see someone with a disability, you see someone with a handicap, by definition, your attention is drawn to that. Your attention is drawn to that. You try not to stare, you try not to make it obvious, but that diverts your attention for a variety of reasons. Sometimes it evokes empathy or sympathy. Or not I don't mean like staring or attention in a bad way, just that catches your attention. If you're a feeling person, you see someone who has some type of handicap or disability, it should draw your attention. HaKadosh Baruch Hu does not want anything which distracts our attention from the avodah in the Beis HaMikdash. The problem is not with the Kohen, the problem is with us, is with people. It's just human nature. So for both sides, what we're seeing over here now, there's a third category. This third category is called Marasayin. Look at Rashi. Rashi says, Mishum Marasayin, Kigon, Hanoch tekachashe b'masnisin, Mishum Marasayin, Shemausin liros. These are people who are not pleasant to look at. Kigon shenishu rise'inav, vishanat lushinav, somebody who's missing his teeth, somebody who's missing his eyelashes. So as we're going to see, these are Kohanim who cannot do the avodah because of what we call maris ayin. So we'll say, so again, is there a mum if you have no teeth? No. Kohen who has no teeth can technically do the avodah. Do we let him do the avodah? No. It's just not pleasant to look at. If he doesn't have eyelashes, right, does that preclude you from doing the avodah? No. But again, both say along the same thing, things that are going to be distracting, we don't want Kohanim like that. So we'll say, so now we have a third category. So again, category 1 of women are biblical women. Category 2 are what we call mizaro shel Aaron women. You don't look like a regular person. And category 3 are maris ayin. Things that are quote unquote are not pleasant to look at. So we'll say, what's the distinction between categories 2 and 3? Zaro shel Aaron and maris ayin. Ikabeinayu asay. I will say the distinction between them, or the fundamental, the nafkamina would be an asay. What does it mean? Look at Rashi. Mi sheino shava b'zara shel Aaron over ba'asayim avad dachi mashma hashava b'zara Aaron havi kohen v'ya'avod sheino shava lo ya'avod v'lav haba mechlal asay. Well, so listen to this. So if you have a mum in the zaro shel Aaron category and you do the avodah, you are in violation of an asay, of a positive commandment. But if you go ahead and you have a mum that falls into the maris ayin category, then halal, and you do the avodah anyway, which you shouldn't, you are not in violation of an asay. So I will say, very dramatic, 3 categories of mumin, which is going to kind of serve as a foundation for our continuing conversation. Now I will say, now we're going to go through the list of mumin in the Mishnah and explain them. Kilon, what's kilon? Didami reisha la'achla, where the head looks like a barrel. What does it mean the head looks like a barrel? Look at Rashi la'achla. L'kisoy shal chavis shechad milamala v'rachav milamata. That the head, person's head, is unusually thin on top and rounder at the bottom. So I will say that's a mum. lifta. So we'll say ultimately, and what's the case of lifta? The dummy reisha ligadlisa de lifta, where his head looks like the top of a turnip. Rashi says, what does that mean? That's just the opposite of the first one. The head is unusually wide on top and narrow on the bottom. Tana vitzavara omed be'emso rosha. And Rabbi say it looks like his neck is sitting in the middle of his head. And Rabbi say what this actually means is the head is wide and especially rounded. So it looks like his neck is perched in the middle of his head. So meaning the back of the head extends a lot and is rounded as well. Makvan, the dummy reisha la makvan. We'll say, what's makvan? His head looks like an axe. Rashi says, Lakardum sha'arfa agul v'katze barochav. In other words, rounded and narrow. Visharosho shakut. And I will say his head is shakut. What does that refer to? Rashi says, milafanov, in front. Shirosha mishupa milafanov. His head is slanted. So some type of slant in the skull. Usekifas, his head is slanted. Me'achorav. Ultimately, again, his head is slanted in back. Kida amri inshi shakal pisa. Like people say, a piece has been removed. Tana, v'tzavaro shakot v'shamot. So we'll say, what does it mean if his neck is shakut or shamut? Shakut dechavya machbat. So we'll say shakut means the neck is sunken. So it looks like he doesn't have a neck. It looks like his head just sits directly on his shoulders. Shamut da'arach v'shamut. So ultimately, shamut means he has an exceptionally long and lanky neck. So ultimately, again, also a mum. Ubali chatara. So I was saying, then we come to the hunchbacks. Remember again, in the hunchbacks, so that was a machlokes ultimately in the Mishnah. Bali chatara, Rabbi Yehuda says, is kasher, such a kohen could do the avoda, and the chachamim say is pasul. So it says the Gemara, the isbe etzem kuli amulo pligi de pasla. So we'll say, if the hunchback, if there's a bone in the extra hump of flesh, everyone agrees that ultimately, again, that'll be a mum that pasels. Ki pligi. So we'll say, so where do they argue? Where do they argue? Keep ligi de lespa etzem, where there is no bone in the hunchback. Marsavar ha'ino shava bezaro shel Aaron. So one opinion says that's a psul. Why? Why, I say? Because he doesn't look like a regular person. They're minors at the end of the day. The people are not hunchbacks. So therefore, again, halacha lemaisa, he doesn't look like a regular person, and therefore halacha lemaisa, he's pasul. Umar savar karkura de bisra ba'amahu. And the other opinion says, listen, it's just some extra flesh. So because it's just some extra flesh, ultimately, again, it does not constitute a mum, which would preclude him from doing the avodah. So that's the machlokes by hunchback. So we'll say if there's a bone, if it's a hunchback in the area of a bone, everyone agrees that that's a psul. Right? If it's just extra flesh, machlokes. Rabbi Yehuda is saying it's kasher. Rabbanan is saying pasul. Hakereach. So we'll say, what about again the bald person? So the bald person is pasul to do. He is also a balmum. So we'll say, let's analyze this. Samar Rava, lo shanu ela she'ein lo la'achorav v'yish lo lefanav. But we'll say, there's only talking about if a person's bald in such a way where he has no hair on the back of his head, but only has a strip of hair on the front of his head. That's the psul of baldness. Aval yish lo la'achorav, but if he has a strip of hair on the back of his head, kasher. Ultimately, again, it's kasher to do the avoda. The choshekin sheyesh lo la'achorav ve'ein lo lefanav. So we're saying, the more so if he only has hair on the back of his head, but not on the front of his head, that's going to be fine as well. So we'll say, so therefore, again, according to his first approach, the psul of kereach would be either just a strip of hair in front, but nothing in back, or of course, full-headed baldness as well. Others have a different approach with this. Vim yeshlo harei ze kasher. If he has hair, ultimately again he will be kasher. So Amar Rava lo shanu ela sheish la'achorav ve'in lo lefanav. When do we say that he's kasher? Only if he doesn't have hair in the back, but he has hair in the front. I'm sorry, just the opposite. If he has hair in the back, if he has hair in the back but doesn't have hair in the front, that's kasher. In this alternate version, it's actually quite interesting. In this alternate version, so if he has yeshlo bein la'achorav bein lefanav, if he has hair in the front and the back, that would be pasul. So we'll say this is actually very interesting. According to this second version, so we'll say, so what's the psul of baldness? So the psul of baldness is when the kohen balds from the middle out. If he balds from the middle out, so there might be hair in front, there might be hair in the back, that's the psul. We'll say this is a fundamental distinction between the reisha and the seifa. In the reisha, the baldness problem is only, again, if he doesn't have hair in the back. As long as you have hair in the back, you're good to go. Whether you have hair in the back, hair in the front, not in the front, as long as you're in the second version, interestingly enough, if you only have hair in the back, you're fine. If you have hair in the back and hair in the front, but baldness in the middle, that's actually problematic. And all the more so if you only have hair in the front, but not in the back, Vadoin lo, so the Gemara says klal apostle. So ultimately, again, such a person will certainly be apostle. So also we're going to talk about baldness in just a moment. We'll see the halacha l'maisa. Amr Rabbi Yochanan. We'll say first wide line, mem gimel amud beis. Amr Rabbi Yochanan. Very interesting. Hakarchanin, bald people. Vahananasin. I will say nanasim are dwarfs, right? A dwarf. Vahazav legonin, right? Hazav legonin. We'll say are people with exceptionally watery eyes, some type of eye condition. Rashi says, She'ineim zavos v'zolgos mayim. Constant watery eyes, psulin. Ultimately, all of these people are apostle. Why? Lefi she'inon shava b'zaro shel Aaron. Because we'll say ultimately again, because they do not resemble regular people. Right? They do not look the part of like being like Aaron HaKohen. Karchanin Tanin, so also some baldness, we already spoke about. Nanosin, so for dwarfs, we already spoke about. Tanina, so we've already spoken about before. Well, actually, we're going to see, we have not. We'll learn about it in the Mishnah. Zavlagonin, so we'll say, or Zavlagonin, so those who go ahead and have very watery eyes, it's trichle lashmo inon. I need to be taught this. Why? Because had I not been taught this, umadetema mishum marasa'ayin. So I say, I might have thought, that what's wrong with Zaval Gonin? I might have thought the watery eyes, guys, the problem with him is a Marasayan issue. Right? That's what I would have thought. It's Marasayan. So let's remember again, Marasayan is what tier mum? What tier mum? Third tier mum, right? There's biblical mum, Zara Sha'aron, and Marasayan. So I might have thought, V'chol heichad di'ikom yishum Marasayan isna katani. So I might have thought every single time there's a Marasayan mum, it should be explicitly stated. So after all, we learned, V'shenishru risrei einav, Puzzle mipnei Marasayan, if a person loses his eyelashes, right, such aคนwill be puzzled to do the avodah because of Marasayan. Mao detema tanichad avoadin lekulhu. So I might have thought, the Brisa doesn't need to state every single case of Marasayan. Once you state one, I get it, right? I get it. Essentially, any condition that's going to make people stare, right? Any condition that's going to draw people's attention, ultimately, again, such a kohen cannot do the avodah. So once you tell me ultimately if his eyelashes fall out, I could also understand from there that what? That if somebody has the condition of watery eyes, that would also preclude him from doing the avodah. V'chol heicha di'ika mehadar u'misna kahadar. Vitani. And therefore, again, ultimately, every single time there is halacha l'maisa another one, we would go back and state it again. So the Gemara says, "Vishenitlu shinav pasol mishum marasa'ayin." And I would say similarly again, if somebody's teeth were removed, or somebody doesn't have teeth, then halacha l'maisa, what? Such a person, or such a kohen also can't do the avodah. Also, remember again, missing teeth is not the biblical mum. It's not even really a zaro shel Aaron mum. It's a maris ayin mum. Ella la'afuki mehadesanya. Rather, I will say the reason we need to go ahead and quote the Zaval Gonin, the watery eyes, guys, is because of the following. Because of the following, the Gemara says, "El la'afuki mehadesanya." We needed to exclude the following case. The sanya hakarchonin v'hananasim v'hazalgonim ksherim. But let's say, listen to this. We have an alternate brisa, and in this brisa, bald kohanim, dwarf kohanim, and watery-eyed kohanim are all kosher to do the avodah. V'lo amru pasol ela mishum maris ha'ayin. And we only said that they're pasal. Why? Because of maris ha'ayin. We'll say third tier mum. So the Gemara says, man haitana, who is the opinion reflected over here? Rabbi Huda. It's Rabbi Huda. Disanya, Rabbi Huda Omer, hakohanim lerabos hakarchonin. That ultimately, again, Rabbi Huda holds hakohanim, the extra hey there, comes to include what? Even bald kohanim. So also Rabbi Huda is of the opinion that Allah Chamaisa, technically speaking, these kohanim are kosher. Therefore, the Brisa comes along and says, no, the Zaval Gonin, the Nanosim, the Karchanin, all of these kohanim are puzzle to do the avodah. So Rabbi say, so let's talk about this in just a moment, specifically focusing on the baldness. As I mentioned, this is sits close to home. So says the Rambam, listen to this. In Hilchos Bias Hamikdash Paraches Halachal, because it's actually interesting, because why? Because we'll say the two alternate readings of the Brisa are quite interesting. Does hair in the front create a problem or not? Two alternate versions in the Brisa. So listen to how the Rambam paskins. The Rambam says he goes through all of the psulim, but I'll quote, he says, if someone is bald, She'ein b'chal harosh se'er kol ikar. So I'll say if he has no hair on his head, that's certainly possible for the avoda. V'myesh bo shita shel se'er mukeves me'achar me'ozen la'ozen kasher. If he has hair in the back that goes from ear to ear, that's enough. He's kosher. That's such a guy you can do the avoda. Umisha yaser mekif me'ozen la'ozen milafanav bilvad usharosh kereach hari apostle. If he only has a patch of hair in front but nothing else on the head, such a coin is possible to do the avoda. So we'll say, so therefore again, case number one, if he's totally bald, puzzle. If he has hair in the back, kosher. If ultimately, again, he has only hair in the front, puzzle. What about the case of where he has hair in the front, hair in the back, but is balding from the middle? Mishaya ser shel mekif kol harosh saviv milafanav me'acharav ve'ein lo se'ar be'emtza. So we'll say this is the case. Person's balding from the middle out. Gam zeh kereach upasal. The Rambam paskins that type of baldness ultimately is possible, which is fascinating. So if you have hair, so meaning, I guess what the Rambam is saying is if you have hair in the, if you have hair in the back, you're good to go, right? You're fine. If you only have hair in the front, problematic. Totally bald, problematic. Balding from the middle out, that is puzzle. Now, interestingly enough, that's you have to maintain there in the back, correct? So the Ravid is that's male pattern baldness. Good. Bigger yarmulke. I know. So it says the Gemara. So I'll say. So therefore again. So that's just interestingly enough, that's the sheet of the Rambam. Fascinating. Even though that's male pattern baldness, which sounds like that's Zoe Darko Shal Olam. Okay, because the Rambam accepts the version of second reading of the Brisa, where ultimately that's a mum. Okay, incredible. Says the Mishnah. I'll say let's go weiter. Another. We continue again with the mumin. I'm very, this gave me a lot of surach, because one of my sincere hopes is that when Eliyahu Hanavi comes, one of the first things he's going to do is going to straighten out the yichus. I hope that from the bottom of my heart, my yichus got messed up somewhere and I'm a Kohen. It's my one wish that I have for Eliyahu Hanavi when he comes. I'm going to have to bring a lot of chatas offerings for all the levayos I've done. But aside from that, I was very concerned. I saw this, Baruch Hashem. For now at least, I'm good. So hopefully he'll come Bechoros. So says the Mishnah. We'll say, let's go weiter. Ein lo gevinin. We'll say if the Kohen does not have eyebrows. Kohen doesn't have eyebrows. Oh, ein lo ela gaben echad. Or we'll say he has one eyebrow. So what's the halacha? Zehu gibein ha'amur b'Torah. So we'll say it's very interesting. So we'll say, remember, one of the movement explicitly mentioned in the Torah is a gibein. So interestingly enough, the Mishnah is a machlokes as to what it means. So we'll say ultimately again, the Tanakh is saying gibein means missing eyebrows or only one eyebrow. Rabbi Dosa Omer shegavinin shochvin. Rabbi Dosa says that what it actually means is, if you look at Rashi says shegavinin shochvin shesaros gavinav gidolam mutalim al paner. Rabbi says this actually means a condition where the eyebrows are so long that they actually cover the face, right? Not totally covered, but they droop down over the face. Rabbi Chanina ben Antigonus Omer sheyesh lo shnei gabin ushnei shedros. Rabbi Chanina ben Antigonus says that it's talking about a case where the Kohen has two backs and two spines. So we'll say so it's actually quite fascinating, by the way. What a machlokes here, right? Remember again, we're the machlokes is what the psul of gibein is. So we go from everything ultimately again to not having eyebrows, having one eyebrow, eyelashes that are too long, or ultimately again two backs and two spines. Says the Gemara, the gibein de'ein lo mashma. So we'll say, is that true? Does gibein actually mean? Does gibein, does gibein mean that he doesn't have, so we'll say, remember again, Rashi says, ein lo gavinin. The first opinion in the Mishnah was he doesn't have eyebrows. Is that true? Does gibein sound like something he doesn't have? Or minu, gibein sheyesh lo gavinin harbe, o ein lo gavinin, o ein lo ela gavin echad minayin, Talmud Lamar o gibein. So the Gemara says, Amarava, Zehu Medrash O Gibein. So Rava says, this is the drasha ultimately of O Gibein. O Gibein teaches me that whether, again, he has too much eyebrow or too little eyebrow, no eyebrow at all, ultimately, this will be a problematic mum. To which the Gemara says, Rabbi Chanina about Rabbi Dosa Omer. Rabbi Dosa says, Rabbi Dosa is one who said in the Mishnah that what's a Gibein? Shegvin and Shochvin. Ultimately, eyebrows settle on his face. And Rabbi Chanina ben Antigonus said that Allah Chalamai says 2 backs, 2 spines. Lememra dechaye. So we'll say, is this to say that a person with 2 backs and 2 spines could live, or is you can't live with such a condition like that? To which the Gemara says, V'ha itmar, we learned, Hamapeles beria sheish l'shnei gaben u'shnei shadros. If a woman miscarries a baby, right, or an entity, and the woman births something that has 2 backs and 2 spines, so Amarav, Rav says, Be'isha ein vlad. If a woman gives birth, this is not considered to be a viable offspring. This is not a vlad. This is not a vlad. And therefore, again, she would not be tamei tumas leida. Behema asr ba'achila. And by behema, ultimately, again, if an animal were to birth something like this, you would not be permitted to eat it. To which the Gemara says, "B'meheba asar b'achila kavaram nehila Rav Simi barchia l'Rav va'amar lei Simi at." So let's listen to this. So ultimately, so this was already discussed between Rav Simi barchia and Rav said to Rav Simi, "Is it you they call Simi?" He was saying, "You're such a great Talmud Chacham. You should know better than to ask such a question like this." Bishedraso akuma. What we will say when we speak about having 2 backs or having 2 spines, we don't literally mean 2 backs. It means somebody who's so hunched over that it has the appearance like he has 2 backs and 2 spines. Such a person would be considered a gibein, and would be a mum that ultimately would passel him from doing the avodah. All right, we'll have to stop over here for today. We'll pick up at Miras Hashem at the bottom Mishnah tomorrow.